What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So Kizuna Clash did go up, and I was able to bring you guys a video as soon as the Kizuna Clash went live. We live streamed for an hour or so, and it was good. You know, we got everything done. But now that time has progressed, I want to give you guys a little bit more options in terms of what you can potentially build to take on the Kizuna Clash. So in this video, there's going to be two sets of teams that are one team versus all, that do not include the new boosters on the team. So, you know, I showed off my team in yesterday's video, or early in the morning's video, so you can go ahead and check that out if you want to. But this team is going to be utilizing Shanks' crew as our main captain. He's really good for this, synergizes well with Boa Hancock. I want to give a huge shout out to ShiRen, OPTC, who is a Japanese guy on Twitter, who was the original creator of this team. And I must admit, the team actually works very well, and I also like the fact that you're able to trigger the super tandem of Boa Hancock as well, due to the fact that we have Luffy on the team. But it does use a couple of key characters. The supports are a little bit specific as well, but we do have like this lore character on the crew. He's useful in a couple of different ways, but most importantly, obviously, are the captains. You know, Shanks' crew with that 6+ level limit break. You get a lot of benefits because of that alone, as you're seeing here versus this side boss. Luffy getting rid of, Hancock getting rid of the pain debuff is enormous, and without that, it's very difficult to clear this content, unless if you're activating a bunch of buffs on stage 2 and carrying them into this stage. We also use Vista, which is a bit of a weird choice too, but he actually just kind of performs what we need him to do, giving you an all boosting effect, and with that key support of Jozu, removing some key defensive effects that will occur in a couple of different pieces of content for like past level 30, which is very important to have. Moving on to the versus int variation, this one is going to be a little bit different, as we're going to be going ahead and switching to Ben Beckman on the first stage, and then on stage 2 we can switch back into Shanks, because we want to make sure that we have Shanks as the Psy variation, of course. But by activating that, it just means that, you know, we can have the attack boost that Shanks' crew gives us on stage 2. And we can also have the Psy variation, because we need to make sure that, you know, Shanks is staying as Shanks. You know, we want to start him as Shanks, because quick characters don't receive cooldown on one of the variations, which I believe it is this variation that you're watching right now. So it is important that Shanks is the starter. We switch back into Shanks on stage 2 so that he is a Psy unit. We're going to be using his special ability as well. The int variation is where you want to activate some type of chain locking effect before moving into the next stage, or ensuring that on your team is a special that can remove chain lock. And we're able to do that obviously because of Shanks' crew getting his chain lock. And remember that even if you activate Boa Hancock's chain lock as well, something to note is that Shanks with his captain will extend the duration of chain locks. So Boa Hancock's special normally is a 2-turn chain boundary, and with Shanks' captain, that actually will extend it to 3 turns, which is something that we'll make use of in the next team, or one team versus all, that you guys will see in this video. And of course, there's timestamps down below in the on the timeline of the video, or in the video description, if you wanted to see the 2 different team variations, just to see if you have characters from either of the squads that you could potentially build instead of the other one. But of course, when we reach this last stage, the Luffy character, the Luffy in the Straw Hats, the Psy version here, a really cool character, doesn't see a hell of a lot of play because it takes the spot of every single Straw Hat on your crew, so that's a huge downside. But they have a really interesting special providing a bunch of buffs, but more importantly, you can select one debuff and remove 5 turns of it, so you could actually use Luffy to remove the pain debuff hypothetically, but you could also use it to remove chain attack down, which is very prevalent in this content. And moving on to the last team versus the multicolored Blackbeard boss. This is a really interesting one, and there are a lot of different team compositions flying around in terms of getting around this content, because not only do you want to try and have super effective damage, but also you need like 2 bursts of damage. So you need like multiple turn buffers or activating a special on the secondary turn, but you also need to make sure that you have enough HP to tank it. Having the Enraged Potential ability is also very important to remove the increased damage taken that's inflicted. It's a very, very weird piece of content. However, we did talk about it in my first initial Kizuna video, and Mizora is definitely like the best and the most ideal captain to use in this content, so long as you have the crewmate of Hiyori guaranteeing you those Wano slots, being able to get that max unleashed Enma captain ability to basically kill Blackbeard in a single turn instead of having to stall, due to the fact that he can buff the enemy's damage limiter, so the 50% restriction is buffed to 100%, and also Mizora being super effective against all types is incredibly busted. But with this team, we can actually abuse the fact that, you know, we have multi-turn buffs, you know. We've got the effects of Shank's crew, which gives us chain lock for multiple turns. When we use Hancock's special, if we already have a chain lock or a chain boundary, we get an attack boost for 2 turns. So that's obviously very good. Log gives us a conditional boost, which is really dope. And then we've also got the Odin, which can give color affinity boosts or an attack boost, depending on your HP thresholds. So yeah, it gets the job done, which is satisfying enough. You know, it's awesome. It does a decent amount of damage. And as we said, you can get that super tandem with Hancock, so long as you're able to get a tandem slot. You know, Hancock's special does give you a tandem slot when you launch her special, so depending on your order of specials, you may need to, you know, use them a little bit carefully to ensure that a tandem slot is at least on one of those 2 characters to trigger that super tandem, if you want to get that super tandem to activate. I have seen a few people on my friends list with actually high levels of super tandem for Boa Hancock for whatever reason, I don't know why, but you know, for those people that have really high level super tandem Boa Hancock friend captains, you want to try and get that super tandem to trigger, because the higher multiplier is going to be awesome. But this is the first one team versus all. We'll go ahead and move on to the secondary one halfway through this video here, which will see some slight changes to the team, and in my opinion is much easier to build for. So now we get to have a look at the secondary team that we have here. Now, the 2 captains are unchanged. So we're still using Boa Hancock as the friend captain, and we're still using Shank's crew as the main captain, because this combination works incredibly well in this content. But what does change significantly are the crewmates and the supports. So in the first set of teams that we saw, it had like 4 key support characters on the crew. This team only has 1, and it's a character that's relatively accessible, very old unit, that Whitey Bay. That's basically all you need, and then you can go ahead and get through it. As for the rest of the team comp, like Komurasaki is a free-to-play unit, Ivankov is also a free-to-play unit, however it does have Rayleigh Gaban and Queen. Those 2 units are pretty awesome, and one thing that I completely overlooked is the fact that Rayleigh does also trigger the super tandem of Boa Hancock, so it involves Luffy, Rayleigh, Boa Sisters, and Shaki, so it actually works really well. And shout out to Yuuno, who is a Japanese guy on Twitter, who was the original creator of this team, and it seemed a little bit wonky at first. I wasn't 100% sure if I really felt like this team was good enough, but after using it, I must say, yeah, I recommend it, and that's exactly why I wanted to show it to you guys. So I'll leave links to not only Yuuno, but also ShiRen in the description of the video. Make sure you go ahead and check them out, give them a follow over on Twitter if you are over there, to see all their tweets. But as I said, this team does a hell of a lot of damage, actually, surprisingly. It works really well, and Queen is a really nice unit for not only giving like color affinity buffs to your cerebral units, which is basically the whole team, but also removing key defensive effects, which is really good too. So having a look at the int variation, this is the one where you typically want to activate a chain locking effect before moving into that next turn, and we're able to do that because of the Boa Hancock special. We talked about it a little bit earlier on in this video with the fact that when you activate a chain lock when Shanks' crew is your captain, and that can be chain lock or boundary, then Shanks will extend the duration of that buff by 1 turn. Normally Hancock is a 2-turn chain boundary, and then Shanks as a captain will make it a 3-turn chain boundary, meaning we can carry that into the next room, ignore the enemy's negative 1.1 chain lock on the crew, and we don't really have to worry too much about the enemy's chain attack down that's inflicted to the crew. Now this is where that Whitey base support comes in clutch with the Komurasaki. Komurasaki with double special launch will remove 4 turns of bind total. That support very key, removing an additional single turn. I mean, there might be other ways that you could abuse it to guarantee you the way to remove those buffs. Potentially you could have, like, I don't know, there are a couple different ways you could do it. You could potentially also use a ship that has bind removal as well. So you see that we use Queen here to remove the increased defense, and then Hancock for the chain locking effects, and then we can go ahead and kill, which is awesome. And then of course on the final stage we have Shanks' crew switch effect, which can give us the ability to give a pretty big attack boost to the crew, and he also gives a base attack boost, I believe it is, or a color affinity boost depending on what color your captain is. I can't remember the way that Shanks' crew works exactly, but it's one of those buffs. And then Rayleigh Gaban as well, who can give an orb boosting effect to the crew as well. Rayleigh Gaban are going to be pretty key, I think, in the next variation, where Special Bind is going to be quite key. So, very, very nice to have Rayleigh Gaban, not only for the ability for Orb Boost, Special Bind Removal, potential Chain Boost as well, which synergizes well with Chain Boundary, but also that super tandem with Hancock. And now having a look at the final team of the video with Yuuno's one team versus all going up against the strength multicolored Blackbeard. And once again, we are able to do this quite comfortably here. And remember, the Boa Hancock is the friend captain. She is super effective against all types. So being able to abuse that is going to be the best way to do as much damage as possible. So when we move on to the next stage, there's going to be 2 key defensive effects of Threshold and Damage Reduction. And by activating the specials of Queen and Ivankov, we can remove both of those key defensive effects, and it also allows us to wave clear too. The Ivankov does do damage to all enemies, which will kill those mobs, meaning that we only have to take on Shiryu. It just makes clearing stage 2 more comfortable. And then, of course, because of the way that Blackbeard works, he has damage limiter, so we have to kill him over 2 turns. But of course, Boa Hancock has the ability to apply like Petrify and all that kind of stuff, so it's not really too bad. We do still have to tank 30,000 damage from Blackbeard. We actually heal quite a lot though due to the Boa Hancock captain ability, so HP isn't really going to be a big issue for us, luckily. But we have the Hancock special in her super type, we have the Ben Beckman switch effect for the attack boost, and then the special as well, which gives either base attack boost, I believe it is, or the color affinity. I'm pretty sure it's the base attack boost. And then on the revive is where we would activate you know, a couple of other key effects as well. But for us here, like, it really doesn't matter at all because Special Bind is completely removed via Shanks' crew, which is dope. So even if you didn't want to use Shanks' crew as your main captain, you know, Rayleigh Gaban do have the ability to remove that Special Bind. But, you know, this just proves furthermore why Shanks' crew is such a good captain for this quest, synergizing with Boa. But that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Other than that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.